Hello everybody, thanks for watching my video again. I am picking up with the letter D now in my core collection. So again, these are albums that I've had for a long time. Most of this part of the collection was assembled in the 1980s, so from the mid 80s through the early 90s, and then the records just kind of sat in there and haven't really added to it or taken out of there much. So it's kind of a time capsule for me going through these. So here's one of the best in the time capsule group. This is an album by Dolly's Car. It's called The Waking Hour, and it's a gatefold, single album with a gatefold. Very, very beautiful Maxfield Parrish painting that some of you might be familiar with from a Moody Blues album. They used the same one. And it's kind of printed backwards, so you've got the, normally this would be the front of the record, but it has the barcode on it. And this would be the back, but it has the band title and album name on it. This is on Beggar's Banquet. A little bit dusty. I need to clean that one. It's on the Lowdown series, so I guess maybe this was a discounted price album in the UK. It's a fantastic record. It's got some of the best Mick Karn playing on it. Of course, the vocals by Peter Murphy. He also does a spectacular job. And then this third bloke named Paul Vincent Lawford. I have no idea who he is. But I just love this record. I totally recommend that you pick it up. Don't know if it's ever been reissued. This is an original UK pressing that was given to me by my friend DJ David back in the 80s. So it's a wonderful album. Okay, next up we have an ECM release. This is Journal October Solo Cello by David Darling, a cellist who has put out quite a bit of music on the ECM label in the 1980s. This album is from 1980. It's on the green ECM label. Don't remember too much about it. I obviously must have liked it or I wouldn't have kept it all this time, but from what I can recall of other David Darling pieces, it's just very, very nice cello music, sometimes kind of surprising where he goes with the melodies. See who else is on here. Looks like this is just all David Darling solo. I don't see any other people with it. Of course, it's a Manfred Eicher production. He produced most of the ECM albums in that time period. Next album I have here is by the Datura Seeds. I believe they're a band from Indiana. Haven't played this in a while. It's kind of a indie pop record from, what was it, around 1989 on the Toxic Shock label. Has a lyric insert. Looks like this. Pretty DIY. Remember, the music was really good. Some intricate passages in here, some catchy tunes. I think my big song that I used to like to play off of this was called Man Named Chris. Anticipate the Sun was a good one too, but I remember this is one of those albums I like to play all the way through when I do break it out. It's got a nice little collage cover there too. Okay, now we're gonna move over into some Dead Can Dance. So I have the first Dead Can Dance EP, which is called Garden of the Arcane Delights. It's a little bit similar in design to their first LP cover. That's what the labels look like. It's a very, very good music. Not much else I can say. If you've heard Dead Can Dance, you know whether you like their music or not. It doesn't vary that much, although it does get progressively more complicated and better, I think, with each release. So this is a little bit more on the primitive side, but it doesn't really have that kind of Joy Division post-punk sound that their first actual long player had. I don't have the first Dead Can Dance LP, but I do have the second, which is this one, Spleen and Ideal. Has a beautiful cover. I love this cover image. One of my favorite 4AD cover images of all time. Always wonder where that building is and what happened to it. It's really nice typesetting on here. Kind of hard to read. It's a deep gold on a dark marbled green background. And then this is what the inner labels look like. Some custom inner labels that match the sleeve design. So another excellent record. Really classic, seminal Dead Can Dance release. Good to listen to all the way through. I don't know if there's really any there's no hit, certainly, but I don't think there's really a standout track. It's just either you like it or you don't kind of thing. Okay, here's the third Dead Can Dance LP. This one is called Within the Realm of a Dying Sun. You can tell they're really trying to get profound with some of these song and album titles. Not much going on with the inner sleeve on this. It's pretty plain. It does have some texture to it, though. And then again, the inner labels are just a bit subdued, I guess you could say. Have another pretty interesting static image in the cover design with this, it's like a forlorn figure leaning against, I guess, a mausoleum of some type. Again, a really good album. This is one I think I remember picking up for $6 at Murmur in Florida back in the day. An old record store in Orlando. Now this one coming up next, I bought new. And I believe I bought this at Pete's Alternative Records on Nebraska. This is their fourth long player. It's called the Serpent's Egg, I think. Yes, the Serpent's Egg. Really nice cover imagery again. It's got this cool image that looks like a burning tree, but it's actually, I believe, a photo from space of the Amazon River Delta. It's kind of cool little imagery there, and then the lyrics are printed on the other side, or at least the lyrics to some of the songs. Inner sleeve, or inner labels. This one really has some amazing music on it. Some of the standouts for me are the song Ulysses, the host of Seraphim. Severance is good. In the Kingdom of the Blind, the One-Eyed are Kings. Now, that wasn't one of my favorites when I originally got this album, but I really enjoy Ulver's cover of it. If you've never heard that, you can look for it. It's probably on iTunes. Anyway, a really great record. Then, of course, this is the one that sort of broke Dead Can Dance into the big time. This is Ion. So, of course, it has a little bit of a snippet of Hieronymus Bosch's Garden of Earthly Delights on it. This one has a really nice little textured inner sleeve. And then the inner labels are this kind of pale tan or eggshell color. This is a wonderful album too. This is all of these D albums so far have been winners for me. I do like this album all the way through. I'd say my favorite song on here is probably most people's, certainly not other people's favorite, which is Black Sun. I just like that song a lot. And it doesn't really sound like a lot of the other things on here. It doesn't have that kind of indigenous tribal sound or the 15th century arrangements. But a wonderful album. If you can find a copy of this, pick it up. I think all these albums might have been repressed at some point. These are all original UK copies though. So back when I used to buy these records at the record store, you'd get them and they wouldn't be in shrink wrap, and they'd be about $11 or $12 each. So that's what I paid for most of those. Next up is an album I bought on a trip to New Orleans, or New Orleans, as some people say. This is a record by Maurice Debank, his first solo record. It's called Inner Thought Zone. Very, very simplistic art on it. Picture of him on the back. Maurice Debank was the original guitarist from the band Felt. And this is what the inner labels look like. Let's see, this is on Cherry Red Records. I don't think there's any vocals on this. I think it's all instrumental. He was, of course, an excellent guitarist. And it really changed the sound of Felt quite a bit when he left the band, I think, after their fourth album. I'll be talking a little bit more about Felt later because I have quite a few of their records too. And I haven't played this in a while, so I don't remember a lot about it. But I do know one of these songs, Dance of Deliverance, appeared on a Felt compilation. I think it was Absolute Classic Masterpieces 2, which came out in the early 90s. So I'm going to have to give this one another good play, and I might talk about it again when I get to my Felt albums. Okay, and then to wind up this part of the video, Aphrodisia, the exotic sounds of Martin Denny. This is a mono pressing. To my ears, it doesn't sound that great. I prefer the stereo pressings. It's on Liberty, so it's got a Liberty green label. Fun fun album. I mean, I like every Martin Denny record, and this is certainly one of the crazier ones out there. It's certainly is sought out for the cover art. And I think this is one I probably paid about a quarter for, maybe $1 someplace. I don't remember paying much for this. Used to be able to find those a lot more back in the 80s for good prices. Now people actually collect Exotica. What do you know? So, and speaking of which, here is the one that started it all. Exotica, The Exciting Sounds of Martin Denny. Big fan of this type of music. This is a Liberty album. Really needs to be cleaned. It looks like it's got some mildew on it too. So, as I said earlier, a lot of these albums are untouched. And usually I clean them before I show them, but in this case I was just eager to go ahead and get into it, so I did not. Classic cover. He used the same model for most of these album covers, and I can't remember what her name is, but anyway, this is another good Martin Denny record. Here's one you can usually find pretty cheap, Quiet Village. It's also good. It's also on Liberty. Looks like this one has a pretty cool inner sleeve with other albums from the period. And this is another Liberty with the black, mostly black label, and then the color spectrum on the side. So that's going to do it. I have a bunch of Martin Denny records. They, you know, it's kind of like Dead Can Dance. Well, not that it sounds like Dead Can Dance, but if you like one Martin Denny album, chances are you're probably going to like the others too. If you never heard Exotica, it's worth picking up to see if you like the sound. Kind of a loungy sound back from the 50s and 60s. Anyway, so that's the first part of the D's. Hopefully I'll be able to make the second part. And again, I thank everybody for watching the video, and leave your comments below. Appreciate it. Thanks.